uranium-based reactors that use a different, a different form of cooling for the core. And we saw what happened with Fukushima over that, and why this is so problematic. So it's like, I understand why Russia and China are moving towards these thorium-based salt reactors. Like I understand why they're doing it, and I think the United States would very much benefit from looking into that type of technology as well. Now, what I was saying about solar, everybody's pushing solar as, it's the sun, the sunlight is free, the sunlight is free. Yes, sunlight is free, and in a passive solar setup, it's utilized in such a way that has a small environmental footprint. However, the technology for solar cells and solar cell manufacture, solar cell installation, and solar cell disposal does not have a small footprint. And even the use of solar technology, even new solar technology, the footprint is still being evaluated. And what I'm talking about here is mining. I'm talking about the titanium. I'm talking about the titanium because titanium is it's a very reactive metal. I got to see, when I was in college, I got to see a demonstration where a guy was forging titanium. Titanium is an extremely reactive metal, and it's extremely dangerous to work with because of its reactivity. And it's not clean to produce. So, people who get titanium exposure, we still are waiting to find out exactly how bad health issues are going to be for that. There's cancers and illnesses that are related with the handling of the mining, manufacture, and application of this material. So while solar electricity seems like a great thing, it takes a ton of solar cells. That's why you see when you see solar farms, they take up vast areas, and they don't have zero impact on that environment. That's a false statement. That's a false statement. So like there's a new solar product, which is a reactive film for windows that they were using on skyscrapers in cities. And I think I was reading it was in New York City. There was was it New York or Chicago or Minneapolis or something? Anyway, it was some big U.S. city, and they had coated some new building. Or maybe it was an old building that was retrofitted. But anyway, the windows were coated with this solar film, right? And the reflection off of this solar film, which was powering not even the whole building. It wasn't even powering the whole building. It was like powering some system in the building, right? It was burning the paint off cars on the street. It was burning and killing the birds on the street. It was burning people who stood too long. Like if you're standing at a bus stop for 10 minutes, it would burn you. It would burn you. So they had to remove it. They had to remove it. So then what do you do with all of that, right? And it was the same thing in the desert. They were using solar cells to create heat for steam energy for something. Anyway, the reflection from the solar panels was burning the feathers off of birds. So we talk about, people worry about wind turbines being dangerous to birds. The reality of wind turbines is that most birds actually do navigate around. Talked to a guy one time who was from some UC school who was doing doctoral research on bird population, specifically in the areas in California that have turbines. And the number of bird deaths he said have been greatly exaggerated in the media, and that there's actually more bird deaths from solar farms. So it's not that I'm anti-solar. it's not the end all be all. It's not the answer to all of our problems. And specifically here in California, I have a lot of issue. I mean, we're having all of these wildfires right now, or have been for the. I mean, wildfires are part of the California environment, right? It's part of the natural health of any forest is a fire. But there have been big ones, really big ones, biggest ones ever, and our forests are and our oceans are the lungs of our planet, of our planetary system. So destruction on large scale of those things is problematic. But I think in California that this destruction has in large part been manufactured to support a solar industry that has been pushed by lobbyist groups through the political system. Because there's been tax breaks or deductions or things made for companies who have been willing to start solar installation. I worry about solar panels in communities like where I am, right where I live, where we're in the forest, starting forest fires. You know, it doesn't take much. I mean, when you're a kid, did you ever take a magnifying glass and burn an ant with the magnifying glass? It doesn't have to be a hot day for that to happen, right? The other thing that concerns me about solar in California and the lobbying and the political pressure on, towards solar energy is that our coast is very, very rich in titanium. What do I mean by that? I mean the sand. And combing and mining like that in this area is going to lead to huge habitat destruction for species that are already very, very much in peril. And that's something that is not being discussed in any kind of qualitative or quantitative way with the general public. Solar is simply being presented as an energy savior, and I think it's a false flag. Do I think that there is room for some solar energy in California? Yes, I do. But I don't think that it is safe or responsible for anybody to be touting, for it to be touted as a safe or even clean energy source. It's simply another energy source. I'd really like to see more turbines, more wind turbines here. And I think we're going to have to start reevaluating our nuclear program as a country. You know, having these so many of the reactors that are here in the United States are located on fault lines. They are located coastally, and that has been largely because they use water, ocean water, to cool the reactors. These are the things I worry about. And I shouldn't say worry. These are the things I ponder. These are the things I think about. These are the things I consider in my artwork. The interesting thing about salt reactors is that the technology is not new. It's old. It's as old. Do you have to poop? No. He's been farting. He has to poop. Einstein went back and forth. This is all of the issues with nuclear weapons are why he was reticent about his own research and discoveries. And many scientists at the time felt that thorium-based salt reactors were a much more sustainable choice for energy production. But governments chose to use the plutonium-uranium models because of their military application, the technology's military application. Thorium doesn't have the same application abilities. This is why I don't want to organize anymore with groups. This is why I'm not interested in volunteer work, because I've learned the hard way about what their motivations really are. And it's why I am now libertarian. Thank you.